Well, Byron, I would love to shed some light on your frog calls. I just don't know what they sound like. So you'll have to do them for us, and then I'll have to listen to them and see how accurate you are. But I know this morning, if Byron is around Twin Dams, which I think that's where he is, I know that this morning I had ornate frog, I had banded rubber frog, there was tremolo sand frog, there was banded rubber frogs, there was bullfrogs, and you'll probably find that this evening you probably get some golden leaf folding frogs calling, and maybe even the water lily frogs too. So there'll be some of them, and you might even get some common cacos calling as well, and I don't know what else. There might be some others there. We'll go and maybe on the way home have a look. But we'll be with Tingana for a while, so you can see he's kind of moving around in the tree. He's just trying to get himself settled. The male lion in Suku is still taking it very easy. Now he's a bit, I mean, he's not what Tingana should be in terms of his size. He's definitely a skinnier leopard than what he was a few months ago, and he needs to put a lot more bulk on. But meals like this are going to go a long way into him feeling much better about life. And so hopefully this is going to be the trigger to get him back and kind of rearing to go. But he is a little bit doddery and a bit kind of on the skinnier side of things, which is not how you kind of picture Tingana. Whenever I close my eyes, I always see Tingana as this big, hefty male leopard. And so hopefully, like I say, he'll restore himself back to that former glory in some ways. I mean, obviously he's going to be aging, and his face and everything else is going to show signs of age, but I'm just hoping that he gets himself back into a situation where he just gets in some muscle and gains a bit of condition once again. We know with Mvula went through a rough patch at one point as well, where he got very skinny and then kind of bounced back from that. So hopefully Tingana will be the same. But he's still got that massive dewlap and neck area, so that's one thing he hasn't lost, is his big dewlap. So Joy, you're wondering if we do... Oh, you see, I'm also catching myself, Joy, so I also have to apologize because I also got told off by Rebecca that I say wondering too much. Sorry, Rebecca. And Ali, I know, is talking about it just now, so both Ali and I have it on the brain, and, well, it's the way it goes. Sometimes you'll have to all tell me what new word I can use. But, Joy, you are pondering. How about that, Rebecca? Can I use pondering? Is that better or not? Anyway, Joy was pondering. Now I've forgotten what Joy was pondering. So Rebecca, you're going to have to tell me the question again, and I promise Rebecca is not a nasty human being. She was just telling us that we say it too often, and she's right. We, as presenters, get into these situations where we say words over and over again, so she's totally right in letting us know. There we go. So not on all the autopsies that die. Some of the predators that die will have a situation where we know what happened to them. So let's say like that tailed lioness that is in that died on Rondolozi. She died of old age, and by the time they found her carcass, there was really nothing left to do an autopsy on. But if it's something sudden like Salahesh, then yes, they do an autopsy on that, because she just dies. They don't really know the cause of it, and when an animal just kind of keels over and dies for no real obvious reason, an autopsy needs to be done in case there's a disease that's spreading, in case there's some sort of issue that they need to try and sort out. And so that's when we'll get a situation where they do an autopsy. So, the animals that we can find, we must remember that some of the animals we just never see any trace of them. So, there's certain leopards that have disappeared that we've never known what's happened to them or where they've gone. Lemula is a case in point. Lemula just disappeared out of this area, and in all likelihood was killed and probably eaten before anyone even knew where he was. And so that does happen from time to time as well. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see, if any of our well-known leopards do kind of just, pass away and they're not in any reason that we can see what's wrong with them, then I'm sure an autopsy would be done. Tingana, what are you doing, boy? Are you going to lie down, sit up? What's going on? He's a little bit kind of unsure. I think he just doesn't want to feed at the moment, because feeding is going to attract attention of that male lion. Him moving around in the tree, maybe not so much, but as soon as he goes towards the carcass and tries to even eat, he's going to have a problem, because that male lion's going to hear the crunching of the bones, and it's going to make him a lot more interested. And so I think Tingana's just kind of hoping that Insuku grows tired of this whole situation and just gets up and walks off it, and especially if there's a lioness contact calling, that might call a little louder and Suku might hear it and go and investigate. I think that's what Tingana's banking on. He's obviously a very experienced campaigner, has probably dealt with lions a lot more than we even realize, and that's maybe why he's just sitting and waiting to see what happens. Now you will notice a light that is on Tingana. So for those of you that are not used to lights being on him, the other game drive vehicles unfortunately don't have the capability to switch their eyes into infrared, and therefore they can't just kind of see the leopard when it gets dark. They don't have the abilities that we do to be able to put infrared lights on in film. So they do use spotlights to be able to show what goes on at night. You'll see that most of the time though, the light, the main source of the light will hit the chest of the animal or just around the feet, and then the rim and periphery light highlights the face, and that allows everyone to kind of see what's going on. So they purposely will not shine into the eyes of as unobtrusive as possible. So don't stress about the light. It is something that is used out here all the time, and I've spoken to a vet about this, funnily enough, and asked them about lights in animals' eyes, and they say that with the cats there is actually no effect on them. Their eye is able to deal with it, and while shining directly in is going to certainly be uncomfortable for them and they're going to close their eyes, the actual light and the ambience of that light is not affecting their vision going once you leave. It's not like one of the antelopes that if you shine into their eyes, the antelopes can have an effect where they can't see very well after you have shined the light. The cats, for some reason, which I don't understand, he did give me a whole bunch of technical jargon, that their eye apparently responds much better to light and can react much quicker to changes in light. So apparently it's all okay, and that's why it is still done. But like I say, you'll see that it's not going to be directly in his eyes, which is always a good thing. It's amazing though that we've come from that system. We used to use lights, and obviously we've tried to get more and more ethical, and therefore we're using the infrared stuff. Now Patty, he might relieve himself from the tree. I have seen many leopards do it, especially if there's something that's stopping them coming down. He might have a situation where he'll be able to sneak down and come and relieve himself out of the way of the lion, but any sort of noise of thudding onto the ground is going to bring in Nsuku to come and investigate. So probably fine, he'll just relieve himself up in the tree. Hopefully he doesn't decide to defecate from up there, because that will be a bit of a mess, that's for sure, and we don't want to be under a marula tree that is already dropping marulas. We're taking a risk being under the tree itself, because there's marulas hitting the ground at rapid rates around us, and then flying poo would also not be ideal either. So I think we'll hopefully give him a wide berth, and if he does urinate or defecate, that we're not in the firing line. I think that's going to be a wise plan, and one that we should adhere to. Now it looks like he's going to go in and feed. Let's see. Tingana, are you going to try and feed? No, he's just going to position himself. He's edging. Wouldn't be surprised we start to see him sort of salivating at the thought and prospect of trying to have a little nibble while that male lion is still kind of snoozing. Nsuku looks as though he's fast asleep. I can't see him nicely, but he's on the airstrip and having a little bit of a nap. Right. Now, while he kind of contemplates what his next move is, whether or not he's going to go to another branch or have a little feed, let's send you back across to Ali, who I believe's Lioness is off the mound and is starting to move.
Well, we all thought that she was going to, because she stretched and she got up all of a sudden, but then just as quickly as she got up, then she went back down on the termite mound. I think you're just playing with her feelings now. But her calls have become louder and louder as it's getting darker, and I think her patience as well as ours is running thin. We're all wondering where they are. Come on, guys. Now she... Okay. She carries on roaring this loud, then I'm sure the male lions are going to be able to pick up where she is. Perhaps Nsuku will be able to find out and get in this direction and probably try and join up for her. I have a feeling, though, that the rest of her pride is not as close as she thinks they are, and I think they're a little bit further into Buffelshoek. Now, this afternoon... Are you going to carry on? I don't want to interrupt you, okay? Okay, lady. So this afternoon, as we were driving in this direction just to go and try and follow up on Tandy, we came across tracks for the big herd of buffalo once more, and they were in the central part of Juma, close to Gauri Dam. I'm not too sure if maybe they made an appearance by the dam camp, and then they carried on going north and east, at least from what I could see. So I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of them are actually on the trail of the buffalo, as they've been the last few days. And perhaps, well, who knows, she got distracted doing other things, split up during the rain, and that's why she's by herself. Hampers, you're wondering if some animals track their prey by their footprints. Well, I don't think so, no. I think they will hunt them and they will follow their footprints because all the animals will leave a scent behind, and I think they go more by scent than by actually seeing the footprints. I don't think they'll be able to recognize if it's the footprint of a buffalo or a zebra, but they will definitely be able to recognize their smell. Now we're talking. It's been an interesting comparison because in the morning we had a male lion roaring and now we have her. And obviously in the morning the male lion was sounding a lot louder, but this is still not as loud as she can go, and it's still pretty loud. So I think as the night carries on, and if she doesn't manage to find her pride, then we're going to be able to hear her calling a lot louder than what she is now. Sorry, Rebecca, can you just repeat the question once more? Katerina, she might be more vulnerable during the night if she's by herself, if she tries to hunt something bigger, or if perhaps other unexpected lions come into the area. Just because one lion is more vulnerable without just on itself than without the rest of her pride. But I don't think she will get particularly scared. I think more than now she's just annoyed. We're just going to swap into infrared. So if you see the screen going into a bit of a different color, it's just because we're turning on our special lights that allow us to see better into the dark. Would probably allow us to follow you better into the dark, should you decide to leave the termite mound. Nope. Are Lara Moore? Yes, the lions can recognize individual voices, individual lion calling, for sure. They are, and hyenas do it as well, and I think to some extent leopards do it as well. When the one's calling, they will know exactly which pride member is calling because they all have different voices. Now, it seems a bit odd for us, but if you think about it, when you're talking to someone, everybody's got a very specific voice, and you're able to recognize people by their voice. It's pretty much exactly the same with the lions and the hyenas, which are the ones that tend to call the most, or at least live in clans where knowing who's calling comes in beneficial. And you see, she's also raising her head. She's sniffing. She's sniffing. Right, seems like another one of our sleepy cats, Tingana, is contemplating on moving. So let's see. Will the leopard come down of the tree and start moving before the lion?
Well, I don't think our leopard's going to come down from the tree. It looks as though he's going to pass out on his front legs and have a snooze again. He's got his little tongue out, and he's doing his best Hukamuri impression at this stage with his tongue hanging out like that. And he's almost kind of, like I say, he's got his legs draped over either side of the branch. It doesn't look as though he's going absolutely anywhere. It's almost like he's fallen asleep standing up. So, Tingana, why don't you get yourself more comfortable? If he just slid back slightly, he would be in a situation where he could actually just flop down and sit and watch from where he is. But at the moment, he's just kind of taking it very easy and sitting and almost just hoping that he'll stay standing while falling asleep by the looks of things. Now, Fergus, do you think we should move a little bit? I think maybe we should move. Maybe we can get at least his face in our shot rather than his bum. Although his hips look better. Just can you zoom in a bit on his hips there, Fergus, just for me? I just want to see how the muscle sort of situation is on his hips. A little skinny, a bit of a protrusion of his hips, but otherwise looking not too bad. I mean, it's better than I think what it was a few weeks ago, or a few days ago, should I say. Right. Well, I'm going to move and I'm going to see... Oh, wait, hang on. Tingana's moving. I just wanted to see where he goes, but I'll reposition so we can see his face. And while I do that, let's send you across to Byron, who's on the prowl for night crawlers.
Right, well, she's definitely not moving. I don't know if this is her willing the pride to come to her or being too lazy to carry on looking for them. Or just making a statement now. It's quite an odd situation that we've witnessed today. I think you might have actually lost your pride. As had anyone replied, I reckon she would have gotten up and carried on moving and just walked in that general direction. So perhaps if Nsuku does manage to steal the rest of the kill or just decides to abandon Tingana, which also would be wonderful, as Tingana probably needs a bit of calm and rest and peace. Maybe they would try and join up sometime during the night. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually, or if he hears her from all the way down there, if he comes up here to investigate as to who's calling, or perhaps comes to say hello. Unless he's the reason why she got lost, and then maybe she won't forgive him. We can make our own little story and soap opera. Must be a very comfortable termite mount too, because she has not moved from that particular spot. You can also start hearing some of the night sounds besides the lion roaring. Seems like there are a few frogs around us, some bubbling casinas, some painted reed frogs in the distance. Everything happening now. Or nothing. It seems like far in the distance, well, not too far, but there are some elephants around. Who are you gonna call now? You want to chase the elephants away? Now, the elephants are not too far, probably about the same distance as the other herd was in, but because everything is pitch black around us, we can't really see them. So I think we're just going to focus on her, because our main interest is to see where she's going to go from here. If she goes south, likely she's going to be able to join with one of the Birmingham boys, although that would be quite far of your territory. You would be invading the sticks. Not too sure that's what you should do. Jamie, I don't think hyenas will try to kill her when she's alone. They won't actively go after her and start hunting her and try to just get her out of the way and kill her. What could happen is if she bumps into more than one hyena, the hyena, well, there could be some aggression, but as we saw with the elephants earlier on, I think that likely if there's no food involved whatsoever in the equation, they will go their separate ways and try to avoid each other as much as possible. Normally when we have those conflicts between lions and hyenas and you see them fighting pretty much to the death, there are either little ones involved, in which case either the hyenas or the lions will protect their cubs, or there's some sort of meal that's in between. Either something that a lioness killed and the hyenas want to steal, or the other way around. Seems like both cats are in very similar positions, half standing, half asleep. So let's head over to Tingana and find out how he's keeping his balance.
Now, he is keeping his balance. He's still in the exact same spot. I don't think he can decide what he actually really wants to do. Nsuku has not lifted his head in the entire time we've been here. He's still absolutely fast asleep and taking it very easy. So he's obviously got the same syndrome that Ali's lion has got on the mound. So her mound is comfortable, and apparently so is an airstrip if you're a lion. And Tingana, well, the tree looks as about as comfortable as is possible. So he's kind of drifting off slowly into a slumber, and I wonder if maybe he's going to try and get a little bit of that food at some point. But it is that time, unfortunately, where we need to start heading home. There's also another couple vehicles that do want to get in. We kind of snuck back in between everybody just so that we could be here for the end of our evening, which is hopefully going to be a delightful sort of thing for all of you, and that you've enjoyed this afternoon. It seems to be a little bit of everything. There's been crazy stuff with the scorpion and the African harrier hawk. Obviously the lions and the leopards have also stolen the show. So from everybody, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope that we will see you all tomorrow morning on the Sunrise Safari.